We are in fucking Hollywood, man!
Hello, welcome to the 404 Films podcast. I'm Karl.
And I'm Saidbh.
Today we're going to talk about the Unconventional Christmas. When I mean by unconventional Christmas movie, it's not a movie that people would watch at Christmas like a Harry Potter movie or a Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah.
This is like a movie has to be set at Christmas, but it wouldn't be the first thing that comes to mind when you think Christmas film. It's going to be a little twisted, maybe a little darker. We were thinking like, oh, maybe Die Hard, but that's like highly debatable. Is that a Christmas movie or is it not? I would be of the mind that yes, it's 100% a Christmas movie. Hopefully we'll be able to talk about that more in detail in another episode. So no Die Hard today. Okay, the first one I'm going to go with is one that we both picked, which is 1974's Black Christmas.
Black Christmas. If this movie doesn't make your skin crawl, it's on too tight.
This is like the first, I want to say, Christmas horror movie, but that's not true. I don't think that's true at all. I don't have the facts to back that up. I'm not sure if it was like Christmas Evil or a movie called Silent Night, Bloody Night, or I'm not exactly up to date on all my Christmas horror movies. All I can say is this one is probably the best one. So we are talking about the Bob Clark 1974 movie, not the 2006 remake. And then I'm not talking about the 2019 remake either, because it was one of those, let's remake it again and again. So, you know, the first remake, I never watched it. It looked like really obscene and really like over the top.
I didn't even know they made a 2019 version.
Yeah, it's one with Imogen Poots, and I was like, I can't, like, when it was getting made, it was Blumhouse, and I was like, I can't wait for this. I'm a big Imogen Poots fan, you know. But when I saw the trailer, it's like a sorority against a fraternity, and it looks like got fantastical elements in it and stuff. It looks really not the source material, so I was very against seeing it. I haven't seen it yet. It could be good. It doesn't look good, but
yeah,
why call it Black Christmas then? Call it something else.
Exactly, yeah, because it doesn't follow the exact narrative of the original Black Christmas, because the original Black Christmas is kind of like that creepy 70s horror film, that it's something that's real, that's something that's, you know, like a Michael Myers type character is what I imagine the character on the phone.
It's based
or the character living in
the attic, yeah. Well, it's based off the urban legend, you know, the whole babysitter urban legend of like,
the caller is in the house. The calls are coming from the house.
I think it was the first movie to kick off that kind of phone call horror movie trope. When a Stranger Calls like 1976.
Yeah.
Pretty sure, and Scream was obviously in the 90s, but like it's what Scream kind of took with the phone call element, you know what I mean, of like the killer having this back and forth. But it's basically about just a bunch of sorority sisters in their sorority house over Christmas. One of them goes missing, and they keep getting these obscene phone calls, and they start getting picked off one by one. And eventually the whole reveal is, you know, the calls are coming from inside the house. I think it uses the elements of Christmas really well. It looks really nice.
It does,
it's very creepy. It's like the creepier side of Christmas.
Exactly. It really captures that, especially because they're all, usually when you're, like Christmas time, usually with your family, but the fact that they're all together just as sorority sisters, it's also like a little bit different. It's like a different way to spend Christmas as well. It's a different
kind of look on Christmas. It's like the build up to Christmas. I think even like one of the dads that kicks it off is the first kill of the movie, which is I think the most notorious one that's on the poster, is when the girl gets killed with the plastic bag.
That's the thing that really stuck with me when I watched it, because it was so done so horrifically, because you can imagine what it feels like by watching it, because it's just so graphic.
Yeah, it's like a really graphic yet goreless kill. That's like the whole movie has no gore, but it's really somehow still very kind of, I don't mean mean spirited in like a negative way or an exploitive way, but it's like the kills are very brutal. There's not a drop of blood, I don't think, in the movie, other than like you know, the here or there. It's like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's not really a very bloody movie, but the kills are really horrific in it. You know,
you don't need to see blood for it to feel their pain, like not feel their pain, but you know, like to really nasty, have empathy for them.
Very nasty way to go. You know?
I think that image of someone getting suffocated with a plastic bag is really scary though, because it's such an easy thing to do as well.
Yeah, it's very, I don't know, just I don't like any kind of suffocation.
Yeah, I
or
know. I don't know.
pillows over people's heads. It makes me feel particularly.
It does,
you know.
doesn't it? I can't describe the feeling that it gives you when you see those things happening. I don't know why. I think it's just too easy to do.
Yeah, I guess it's well like coming from a person who has like respiratory issues and stuff, but it's like anyone can have breathing problems at one point in their life. Not everyone will, like, it's not a common thing to slice your hand open with a knife.
Exactly.
So the pain, like the association of pain might not always be there, but everyone has once in a while had like a panic attack or like a coughing fit. So when the air is being sucked out of you, you know that pain.
Exactly,
It's
that's actually
kind
so
of
true.
Household kind of.
Yeah, or even if
know.
you've choked before, you do know that kind of feeling. Yeah, that's definitely a good way to describe it for sure.
It looks fantastic as well. Like the bad guy in it, Billy. He does all these obscene phone calls, which are just amazing. Like, I still get freaked out by them because it's just inaudible kind of squealing.
Really? No!
Scariest part of it for me
Yeah.
is that
yeah.
build up when he's just wailing on the phone. I was going to do an impression, but I'll probably spike the mic. But it's just crying and lots of like, you can't, over and over again.
Very obscene kind of language and just really, what would be the word? Very aggressive.
Very sexually aggressive and stuff.
Yeah.
But then it ends with, it's all this, and then she picks up the phone. The cast is really good. Margot Kidder, who's like Lois. Isn't that Lois Lane? Is that from Superman?
That's from Superman, yeah.
Yeah, Margot Kidder is like the kind of quote unquote drunk, but she's a college student, so can you call her a drunk really? She's just like a party girl in it.
Yeah, party girl,
Yeah, but she's in it, and she like picks up the phone and it's like, fuck you, creep, whatever, and then it just kind of drops and he's like, I'm going to kill you.
Stick my tongue up your pretty pussy.
You fucking creep!
I'm going to kill you.
Biggest kind of scare in it for me.
Especially because it was one of the first films that would have done something that did that.
The phone call.
The phone call, and then he just cuts and he breaks character. He's like, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah,
so I think that
it's
is
so animalistic, and then it's like, oh, he's a man again. And when you do see him, he's not wearing a mask or anything like that. He's shot like, this movie heavily influenced Halloween, but I'll talk about that in a bit. But like the fact that he's shot like Michael Myers, that you only see glimpses of him, like his eye looking through the door, almost shot like a giallo when Margaret Kidder gets killed with the glass ornament.
Yeah.
Of the unicorn or something. It's shot like a giallo movie.
I would consider it nearly a giallo movie.
Yeah,
I think
like
back
very
on it,
POV.
Yeah,
lots
exactly.
of POV used in it.
Even the way they shot that image, a real wide, like a really wide angle image of the house, and you can just see
the her in the window.
Her in the window with the bag over her head. Like that's really scary.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's, I don't know. It's very real. You could be walking down the street any day, and you could see something that happened to somebody. Like, that's so scary.
He's a very real villain in a way that, like, even though all of his weird animalistic things, where it almost sounds like they probably, I'm not sure about the behind the scenes, but it sounds like they got several different people to record phone calls and added them together, because he's dropping in and out of like a woman's voice, and then he's doing all these other things, but he seems like a very real character. He just randomly shows up. The remake tried to give his backstory, everything he says on the phone, made it like from subtext to text, where he's talking about, like, on the phone he's whispering, he's like, don't tell him what we did, Agnes, and all this stuff, and they wrote this backstory for him where he was like raped by his mom as a child, and Agnes is his, it's just gross, and he has jaundice in it, but they make him look like a character from Sin City, where he's like a luminous yellow, and I was like, I'm not sure that's what people with jaundice look like,
exactly. Yeah.
Also kind of offensive, because it's like, how do we make him look weird and scary? Let's just have him have jaundice. It's like, that's okay, that's kind of shitty,
Yeah, no, I get you. The thing about like Christmas time, there's always like an element of creepiness to it.
Yeah.
And I think these movies kind of like, maybe because I saw this when I was younger, maybe this is why I have like an element of creepiness to Christmas time. And there's also another reason, is because, you know the way soaps always have like a Christmas special, and someone dies.
Someone has to be dramatic. I literally saw it today. I went on my like Google News thing, and it was like, Jeff falls to his death, Coronation Street. And I was like,
Oh, yeah.
okay, here we go, you know?
These things must have influence. I don't know if other people feel like this.
No,
Maybe.
no, it definitely, there's a creepiness because it's the Christmas Carol, the ghosts of Christmas past.
Exactly,
That's
yeah.
a ghost story, you know
Ghost
what I mean?
stories are a big
Yeah.
thing around Christmas time as well. Yeah, for sure. Interesting.
So it is like a time as well of like, I remember in H&V, they'd have obviously like Halloween section, but when it came into winter, they changed that to winter chills. So it'd be like all movies that just horror movies to watch during the winter. There's many, like loads of movies that are set at Christmas, like horror movies set at Christmas. This one I just think uses the elements the best. You know, it looks pretty with all the lights and everything. It looks really nice, and that kind of ties into the Giallo. When you get away with like, why is this all lit this way? It's because of the Christmas lights. It doesn't have to be surrealist to use such a cool color palette.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah. Like kind of like Suspiria would.
Yeah, exactly. It's a really kind of modern movie as well. Like the way that the girls talk to each other and everything. This is 1974, but one of the big subplots is Olivia Hussey's character wants to get an abortion.
Yeah.
And her boyfriend is like, no, you have to keep the baby. It's like, well, no, it's my decision. And then even like Margot Kidder, she's like, speaks very frankly and swears, and she's like very kind of upfront. So for a movie to do that in 1974 is quite cool because all the characters are quite enjoyable. They're quite likable.
Yeah.
It's one of those rare slasher movies where you actually like the characters.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see like, well, even like the police officer in John Saxon, who I love. John Saxon's in like Nightmare on Elm Street, big kind of I don't want to say B movie, exploitation movie kind of actor. It was in Into the Dragon, stuff like that. But when he plays the police officer in it, he's not an idiot. He has a good rapport with the girls and the main character. A good back and forth. He's clever. He's not just like in any other slasher movie, he'd just be some dumb cop. I found out something interesting doing my research on this now. This is from the all-powerful Wikipedia. So I don't know how true it is. But for its TV release in 1978, the year Halloween came out, which again I will talk about how they're related. It was going to be shown on TV, but it was quickly pulled because 2 weeks prior there was the infamous Ted Bundy murders in the sorority, in the Florida University sorority.
Yeah.
And that was like, I the only reason I bring this up, I don't really like talking about true crime stuff. It's just weird to think that this came out prior to Ted Bundy's
I know.
like crimes. Like to think that, because we don't have in Ireland serial killers to that degree. We have other stuff that's weird and other kind of heinous shit, but serial killers are very much an American thing, or the famous ones are. And it's weird to think that horror movies have come out prior to, you think, okay, the Ted Bundy incident would be a big influence on this movie.
Exactly.
No,
Yeah.
it happened prior to it. So Bob Clark, also famous, I think if you're a big movie fan you'll know this immediately, but Bob Clark is very famous for making A Christmas Story, a very famous Christmas movie. I don't know anything about it, was never seen. I think it's more of an American thing. It's what that whole thing is of the kid licking the lamppost and getting his tongue stuck to it.
Yeah.
The like blonde kid with the glasses. So very two different Christmas movies. But there was this rumor I heard that Bob Clark told John Carpenter about a sequel to this, to Black Christmas, that he had. Like, what would you do if you were going to make a sequel? And he said, well, I'd have, spoiler alert, the killer gets away at the end. I'd have the killer going around on Halloween killing people. And then John Carpenter goes off and he makes Halloween. I don't know how true that is, but Bob Clark said it in a very nice, kind of friendly way. So if it is a real thing, he doesn't care. Or maybe it's just a joke. But you can see the elements between Black Christmas, the similarities between Black Christmas and Halloween.
You can.
So they're
yeah.
almost a good pairing to watch. If
Yeah,
you want, like a
yeah.
holiday themed kind of thing,
Yeah, definitely. I think I will watch Black Christmas again because it's been a good couple of years since I watched it. And it's creepy, but it has very interesting elements about it that are good filmmaking elements.
Oh,
for sure.
yeah.
Good story,
Oh, no,
good
it's-
narrative.
It's really
elements.
well made. Bob
Yeah.
Clark is really good. He's made other horror movies as well, like one about Ed Gein, or loosely based on Ed Gein, and then one.
What is it called?
I have no idea. I cannot remember. I
See, a
know
lot of horror films have been based on it,
I
loosely
think this
based
is
on Ed Gein.
literally though Ed Gein, where he wears the little
Ah.
hat and everything. And I think there's another one he made, Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, and that's like a zombie movie.
No, I haven't seen. I haven't heard of that actually. Before.
Yeah, no, they're kind of. I think he didn't do many after the fact, after Black Christmas, But yeah, definitely show it to somebody. It's still scary. It's really good to kind of show people around Christmas because it's still very intense,
Yeah, yeah.
What was that? Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I have it.
I'm so sorry. Oh my god.
That's going to be fun to listen back to.
If you want to keep this in, I just knocked over a nice lamp.
Hey, Alexandra, come here. Listen, have you seen Cindy?
Cinderella. Looks like someone has a crush.
Cindy's back on the block?
Oh yeah, she's back. She's back and she's going hard.
Merry Christmas, bitch.
The second unconventional Christmas movie that we want to talk about is Tangerine by Sean Baker. It's made in 2015. It was shot on 3 iPhone 5Ss.
Yeah.
SEs? Or 5 Ss.
I've never understood. When everyone pitches the movie, it's like it was shot on an iPhone, but it was shot with
with lenses.
an adapter. Wasn't
Exactly,
it? I mean, it's still
yeah.
really impressive. Like,
Oh, it's really impressive, yeah. But they use it like adapter lenses on
Like
it.
a macro lens kind of thing that you click over or something. Really
Exactly.
cool.
Yeah, it's really impressive because the fact that they were able to shoot off it was like an $8 app.
Yeah,
Film app that they got. I can't
Film
remember.
I think advertised it and stuff.
Yeah.
There's really good apps out there for iPhones to shoot on.
Yeah.
If you shoot on any other phone, I don't think it's as good. I think the iPhone probably has a lot of better features.
iPhones seem to just have the better cameras
Yeah.
over Androids. No matter, I don't know why, it just seems to
the
be.
price probably comes into it, you know.
Maybe, yeah. Unfortunately, but yeah, I think it was done really well. I think there's obviously a lot of warpiness I find within the film. I think obviously they shot on an iPhone, that's bound to happen, which kind of might make people feel a little bit
I don't know
nauseous.
how many people would notice though, because it was a selling point of especially people who were into movies would be like, watch this movie, it's the iPhone movie, and I don't think I would have watched it other than not know if I didn't know that it was shot on an iPhone, because I wanted to see it as maybe I could shoot a movie on an iPhone. But
exactly, yeah.
It's a fantastic movie. I love the movie, but I was gonna watch it either way because it's the iPhone movie, you know, that kind of thing.
See, that's when I was told about it a couple of years ago. I was like, oh, I actually really want to watch this because it was shot on an iPhone. It makes you feel like anything's possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the reason why we've chosen this as an unconventional Christmas movie, sorry, I didn't actually mention that, is because it's actually it's shot on Christmas Eve. So basically it's about two sex workers, two trans sex workers who are working in Hollywood. One has just come out of jail, Cindy, and she meets back with her friend Alexandra, and Alexandra is trying to help her kind of, get set back up again. And Cindy quickly finds out at the start of the film that her boyfriend has been...
Who's also her pimp.
Who was also her pimp. He has been sleeping with other women.
I got some good news to tell you about me and Chester.
I know what it is. You're breaking up with him. Thank God. I'm gonna be cheating on you like that.
Wait, what?
It's just going crazy, and it's basically her journey to find the girl that he's been sleeping with. She eventually finds her, drags her around Hollywood, and brings her to Alexandra's show. Where they
it's like a whole little adventure. It's one of those set in one night. So it's I'm gonna find the person that, because it's her fiance, isn't it?
Yeah, it's her fiance.
Fiance is her pimp, but I'm gonna find the woman that he cheated on me with, and then I'm gonna find him, and it's kind of a build up because you don't see him until
the very
end of the
end.
movie.
Exactly.
But then there's this whole subplot that there's a taxi driver who is living the secret life that he's actually gay, but he has a family. But
he's from Armenia as well, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he's in love with
Cindy.
Is it the main character?
Yeah, it's the main character.
Okay.
See, he meets up with Alexandra a lot, but I think he's in love with Cindy.
Yeah.
And he has a wife and kids, and it's...
His story is most based around Christmas, because it's you have to get home to celebrate Christmas. And it's very much I haven't seen the movie in a while, so I don't want to make any assumptions, but I think it's very much them celebrating the American, quote unquote, American Christmas that they want there. Isn't it that they have the tree up and everything?
But yeah, I'm pretty sure he mentions, or it's his mother-in-law mentions about, he has to be home for Christmas, and he's like, yeah, but this is an American holiday,
It's the busiest time for people. Yeah, it's
a taxi driver.
For a taxi driver. And his story subplot is just depressing. The whole movie has a level of just kind of...
bleakness.
Yeah, it's a really cool look at LA the lower kind of the seedier parts of LA, because there is like there's a non-trans sex worker in it who's the woman that James Ransom plays, the pimp. James Ransom from like It and Sinister. Really good actor. Really good in this. It's like building up to getting to meet him.
I mean, I be running around taking care of business and shit, doing what I do all day, you know, running this shit. And then fucking, it's on top of that, it's motherfucking Christmas Eve. And you know how these motherfuckers get? They like fucking want to get their last minute shopping in and shit.
A lot of the movie takes place in a Dunkin' Donuts because I think they got the right
Donut time.
Okay, so they got the right to shoot there, and it kind of that's like a stopping point for a lot of them. They meet up, I think, at the start there, and they meet up with him there, I think. But it's at the start and then the end. Yeah, so like the person who cheats on
Cindy,
like the other woman. She has like a really bleak end to her story. She's getting the shit kicked out of her throughout the entire movie. But it ends with her basically being thrown out on the street, and that she needs to stay in a motel. And there's
she goes back to her motel where she was dragged out of by Cindy, and she knocks on the door, and I think it's her pimp. I think it's a pimp as well, who says to her, "You can't come in here, like
no
we're booked." Basically there was no room at the inn on Christmas Eve. And it was really sad, and she just had to sit there with no shoe on, with one shoe on, and it was just you feel that, because when you think of Hollywood, you think, oh, bright lights, famous people, you know, movie studios, all this kind of stuff. But this is another look on Hollywood, and like there's a lot of like prostitution, obviously, and there's a lot of all that kind of stuff that people.
As well. There's a lot. I think she does drugs in that movie. Does she smoke crack?
She smokes crack in the bathroom with Dinah, who was the girl she pulls out, who was cheating with Chester, the fiance. And it is another look to it, because I've been to LA and I've seen, you know, the kind of the bleakness that can be there as well. You know, it's
not usually seen.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not just.
It's not by any means though like a miserable movie. It's really fun. Like,
it is.
They're very likable kind of characters, even though they do very questionable things. Even the main character, the main character isn't really a nice person. The character played by Maya. That she's the kind of the heart of it. That's the very kind of nice, kind of good person throughout it. I think, other than
the twist that's at the end of it.
You know what I mean? That I won't spoil the twist, but unless I already have.
No, you haven't. No.
She's very much the heart of it, I think, because the main character wants to get revenge on the girl that cheated on the fiance, you know. So she does very questionable things. But the taxi driver's ending is so depressing. Like, his family finds out about his kind of double life, and you don't see the aftermath of do they accept him or not. But it's just the awkwardness of being caught. Of because the characters are trans in it, there's a moment in the movie that is like the opposite of those. You know how like in the mid-2000s or the 2000s, all the comedy movie, and in the 90s, the comedy movies that were coming out were really, really kind of mean-spirited and offensive.
Yeah, exactly.
This is like the opposite of it, where it's like he picks up a girl, a prostitute, on a certain corner. And he brings her into a car wash. Is his place?
No, he just brings her to an alleyway.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And he's gonna go down on her. And when he realizes that she doesn't have a dick, she doesn't have a penis, he's like, "Oh, what the fuck?" And that I thought was really funny, because it's like, it's the opposite of what a really mean-spirited movie would be, where it would be really kind of mean towards somebody who's transgender, to be like, "Oh, look, you know, this is weird, all this stuff," and completely like mean-spirited and completely wrong. Well, this is the opposite of it, where it's just like, what the fuck, you have a vagina? Like, get out of my car, you know? Like,
he's like, you were on the wrong street. This is the street.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I found that really interesting, and I liked it a lot, because it goes against the conventional.
Yeah, like all the like Rob Schneider, those type of movies, or even like the Adam Sandler movies, or all those kind of stuff, where it would be like they wouldn't treat trans people well at all. He's a well-developed character. He's not just some John picking up prostitutes. He's actually like in love with one of the characters, and there's some really, really nice moments in it. Particularly, you know, the bit when she does her show, and then the end of the movie.
She's an amazing singer.
Yeah, like I think she's gone on to act.
She has. Yeah.
But the end of the movie is just fantastic. Like, so kind of
It's like
bittersweet.
an explosion.
Yeah, but
What
like,
you're waiting for, basically,
but
to happen.
the last part of it, which like I'm not going to spoil the twist, but the last part of it is that it kind of comes out of nowhere, and it's very kind of dirty and kind of nasty and mean. Is that they are basically victims in a hate crime when a guy throws like a condom full of piss out the window and it hits one of them, and she has to go in and wash her wig.
Yeah.
And then the other one takes her wig off and she hands it over to her to wear.
Yeah.
And that's just so nice.
It was really
such
sweet.
a kind of sweet moment.
Yeah, I know, because they were just after falling out.
Yeah,
Even though they were like best friends.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Oh no,
Kind of
I'm
thing.
talking about the twist.
Oh, right.
I mean, the cherry on top was the twist happening.
Oh,
because
yeah.
it just made it like much more like as interesting as the film was already. It really brought it up even more to being.
Yeah, I like when you don't really expect a hang-up movie like this to have a bit of a twist like that. You know what I mean? It was nice to have that kind of elements of drama in it. You know? But it's just a very enjoyable movie. I don't think I've talked to anyone who has seen this movie that didn't like it because it's very enjoyable and the characters are so entertaining.
They are, yeah, and they're so quick. Like, I wouldn't call it a fast-paced film, but there's something happening all the time.
Yeah, I think it is because it's like a hangout movie. They can kind of drag because it's like because you're spending basically the 24 hours of the character. You could end up seeing the character just sitting around doing nothing. You know,
but they're always pulling it forward.
It's like all around LA, and I think Sean Baker took what he did with kind of showing you kind of that side of LA, and he went off and of course he did it with the Florida Project, which is fantastic. A very different kind of movie in regards to, it's not as explicit in regards to, I guess, well no, actually it is very, it's from a child's perspective, so it's a bit held back, but it's filled with like swearing, and there's prostitution in that movie, and there's drug use in that movie, but it's just as good. I think it's not, no, I don't know, I couldn't compare the two of them. I don't know, I like them both too much. Yeah. Florida Project has some great actors in it though. Watch Florida Project as well because it's so good.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet. No, it's on my watch list and I've been meaning to because I heard about Sean Baker a couple of years ago and that's when I watched Tangerine.
He's very interesting though. He's one of the ones, one of the directors as well who's a huge big fan of exploitation, which is very kind of cool because his movies are very sweet, and you could understand if he was a big fan of John Waters, who are kind of similar because you know John Waters.
John Waters actually voted Tangerine the 8th best film in 2015.
Yeah, it seems like his kind of thing, but he's like into like deep kind of cuts of exploitation movies, lots of cannibal movies and stuff, which I find really interesting. That you can kind of like these movies and
Cannibal Holocaust and stuff like that.
Kind of those movies, and it will affect your kind of work in a way. It's cool to learn what you're like, to learn about these movies and see how it inspired them. Because he's very different to those type of things.
He is, yeah. Well, I don't like exploitation movies because I saw a bit of Cannibal Holocaust and I thought that was disgusting, especially because
in fairness, not all of them are like Cannibal Holocaust.
Fair enough.
That does a pretty nasty thing of having real animal death. I know that you can get copies out there that doesn't have any animal death. It's hard to look past it though.
Yeah, I can't look past that. It's disgusting.
It's pretty fucked up. But I've never actually fully watched it, but it's on the watch list. I'm shocked I haven't seen it yet, but I am a huge exploitation fan. And speaking of which, I'm going to talk about my next pick, and I'm talking about Silent Night, Deadly Night, one of the sleazier films I think I've talked about on the podcast, and that's saying something.
The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there.
This movie, I don't know where to begin. It's like a killer Santa movie. Okay, so it's about a guy who witnesses as a little kid. He goes to see his granddad who's catatonic, and his granddad tells him how Christmas is the scariest time of the year and Santa is something to be feared.
Christmas Eve is the scariest damn night of the year.
And on his way home, a crook dressed as Santa, who just robbed like a liquor store, holds up the car and gets his mom and dad to come out and kills his dad. He sexually assaults his mom, and the kid witnesses this. And he then goes up and he has PTSD, but he's raised in a Catholic school, like a Catholic adoption. What would you call it? Like
an orphanage.
An orphanage. There we go. I don't know why I didn't say that. An orphanage, and it's like the nun does not treat him right with his PTSD because he fears Santa. And when Santa gets brought in, he acts out. He draws photos of like Santa dead with all the reindeer cut up, and she like constantly punishes him and like hits him and beats him.
That's
and
awful. I don't know.
It's,
That'd be
no,
something I'd want to watch.
It's a very weird fucking movie. It's
Yeah.
really grim. And then finally he grows up to be this fucking Hulk of a guy, you know? And he goes working in a department store, and he dresses up. They have to get him to dress up as Santa by like, and he's kind of cured at this point though, but he has to dress up as Santa. But then he witnesses one of the co-workers. He has this kind of relationship with one of the female workers in the place. This kind of like nice relationship kind of building up. But then one of the other co-workers comes in and he walks in on him sexually assaulting this female co-worker.
Oh god.
And he snaps because he's dressed as Santa. He snaps, he kills him, he kills her, he kills everyone else in the shop, and then he just goes on a rampage in the town leading up going to the orphanage, back to the orphanage to kill the Mother Superior. But this movie is fucking insane in regards to like how it was released. It was pulled a week after it was shown in the theaters because they had.
I can imagine why.
Yeah, but they had this idea that they were like the ads. I first kind of got exposure from this slasher movie called Going to Pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Really good. It shows you like the start of the slasher movie genre up to its kind of. It was made in the mid 2000s, so it led into like torture porn movies, you know, like Hostel and everything like that.
Yeah.
But a big kind of moment, like a few big pieces on this because they talk about how it did kind of make. It was one of the biggest kind of controversial ones in the 80s of that genre because they released all these ads of Santa going around killing people, and its tagline is so fucking good.
You've made it through Halloween. Now try and survive Christmas.
So
oh my god.
But it's like the ad is really creepy as well. It's got like lots of animatronic puppets, weird kind of kids singing. And it was shown during the daytime, I think. So when kids saw it, Santa Claus doing this horrible thing.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone went fucking mad. It got negative reviews. Parents, like a bunch of angry mothers were on the news picketing it, you know, stuff like that. So people got very pissed off at it. So it was banned really, really quickly. Like it pulled a week after it was shown. Not even that kind of bad with its content. It's not too out there, you know. But the subject matter, I guess, is disturbing. You know, it's one of the ones that, you know, Roger Ebert, the big famous American critic, he had a huge problem with this movie. He had a problem with many different films that are like in that genre of slasher movies, but this was one that I think he went after as well.
So let me repeat the names of the writer and director and producers of this film. Michael Hickey wrote the film, Charles E. Sellier Jr. directed it, and Ira Richard Barmack produced it. You people have nothing to be proud of, even if you made a few bucks off of all the negative publicity. Your profits truly are blood money. And Silent Night, Deadly Night now has the distinction of joining I Spit on Your Grave as one of the two most contemptible films I've seen. And I don't mean to think it's campy. It really is quite awful.
I'm glad you mentioned those people's names because quite frequently they think, gee, we'll make this exploitation film, we'll be able to buy our Mercedes and live in Bel Air and nobody will ever know what we did. But I would like to hear them explain to their children and their grandchildren that it's only a movie.
Is it a B movie?
It's a lower budget kind of slasher movie, but it's no, like, it would be in the same line of like Halloween in regards to the same budgetary things, you know, so calling it a B movie, I don't know if, you know, I don't even know if I'd call it like an exploitation movie. It's very much like a slasher movie that kind of goes deeper with its griminess, you know, it's very kind of sleazy.
Okay.
It spawned like so many sequels as well. I don't know if you know the meme.
Garbage Day! Huh? No!
That came from the second movie.
Oh, great. No, I don't know that, no.
It's a big meme that people like. There was a third one made with Bill Moseley, who was in the Texas Chainsaw movies. That's so fucking boring. They're all not related, really. The first three are kind of in the same story, but then they have like a fourth movie about a bunch of feminist witches that's really, really problematic. And then there's one with Mickey Rooney. You know Mickey Rooney? The God, how would you describe Mickey Rooney to people who wouldn't know him? I guess I would know him as like a parody. You know the Ben Stiller movie, Night at the Museum? Yeah. He's one of the old security guards in that.
Okay.
The kind of shorter, kind of fatter one. But he's in the fourth one, or the fifth one, of an evil toy maker called Pedo, which is just like, it's meant to be Geppetto.
I was gonna say Geppetto,
but it's like just pedo, like it's just paedophile, you know, that kind of thing. And
yeah.
It's so, and there's a sex robot in it that wants to have sex with its surrogate mother. It's so fucking weird.
That is so fucking strange.
But like the first one, and then it went on to have a sequel a remake that had nothing really to do with it, and they dropped the Deadly Night. It was just Silent Night, and it had Malcolm McDowell in it and stuff. And I think it was really a bad decision to remake it like that, because there's some exploitation movies that I would see that I'm like, okay, if they remade this with the same kind of theme but with better special effects and kind of more sense, let's be kind of less overtly offensive, even though it's exploitation, or even though it's sleaze, you know, but they remade it and it was basically a whodunit, and it goes against, it's got some really good kills though, the remake, but it goes against the whole idea that I feel the first movie was about. If I want to get really pretentious with it, it's about a little kid who sees Santa Claus, this kind of holy figure, murdering his mom and dad, sexually assaulting his mom, doing all these horrible things, and then well, it's funny that that's what the public saw as well. That's what little kids who watched the ad saw as well. So it obviously had impact. It spoke very truthfully of what I was talking about. And then he went to an orphanage where these nun figures who are meant to be good. Nuns are, I think generally they're not. I mean, we're Irish. We know how bad nuns can be.
Yeah.
They're meant to be these kind of figures to be helpful and stuff. He has PTSD and all he gets is beaten for like his troubles. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's all about like misrepresentation. So that's, and the whole movie is kind of, in my opinion, is kind of deep within being Catholic. It's very Catholic heavy. And for the remake to just make this whodunit, just another Killer Santa movie, I think you've completely missed the mark. And I think this movie could be remade and done really well if you keep those elements of the Catholic kind of guilt and the kind of the shame and like how Christmas and being Catholic are tied in. I mean, I guess it spoke to me because I'm Irish and technically I'm Catholic. I mean, I was baptized and everything.
Yeah, so you came from a Catholic family, like yeah.
Not that we practice it anymore though, but it's like to get rid of all that kind of Catholicism.
Yeah.
It's a bit like you've missed the point. You've just made another Killer Santa movie when you could have made a movie that kind of matters in a way. You could have made a Killer Santa movie that actually is important, because the fact that is when the little kid sees Santa kill his mom and dad, and it's like, oh my god, why is this heavenly kind of ultimate good figure doing these horrible things, and the fact that the movie actually got a bunch of people so pissed off for doing the same thing means that it did have a somewhat important message or had weight to what I was trying to say. And for a remake to be like, nah, let's just make a Killer Santa movie, you completely fucking jump the shark. So,
yeah
I don't know, someone should remake Silent Night, Deadly Night and make it good. So there you go, there's three somewhat sleazy.
Yeah, I guess.
Sleazy,
no, well, I wouldn't call
Tangerine. It's kind of grimy.
It's a little
bit
grimy,
You know, it shows the kind of the underbelly of LA. But there's some very non-conventional Christmas movies. I wouldn't be watching them, you know, at home with your family.
No, I wouldn't recommend it. I mean, Tangerine is okay to watch with your family. It's a realism.
It depends on what type
of
your family is like. If your family is, you know, very
conservative and
don't
weird.
Watch it. If your family is a bunch of assholes, don't watch this movie with them, you know?
Yeah, basically.
I wouldn't watch Silent Night, Deadly Night either. Like,
I don't think I'll be watching that.
If you have the stomach for it, you know, not that it's too gruesome, it's just that its subject matter is kind of very bleak. But Black Christmas is 100% one that you should watch on Christmas night. Yeah. That's my recommendation.
Yeah, Black Christmas I think is good. It's kind of a little bit like, you know, scary, but if you're into that kind of creepiness, go for it. If you're into the kind of Halloween type horror, definitely watch Black Christmas.
Tangerine is definitely just one as well to watch, I think, around the period. It's not one that you, again, that's not tied to Christmas. You can watch it whenever you want.
Exactly.
But it's
just because it's set on Christmas Eve, you just get those the feels for it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's very much like, this was a good excuse to talk about Tangerine because, you know, we wanted to talk about it for a while, so.
Yeah, for sure. But that's a wrap on our unconventional Christmas films.
You can follow 404 on Instagram at 404 Films. You can follow Saidbh on Instagram at
the Silver Screen.
You can follow me on Instagram at Karl_director. The name still makes me laugh. I think that's everything you can follow us on. Facebook. Try to find us on Facebook if you still use Facebook.
Yeah, I don't think anyone uses Facebook much anymore. But yeah, peace.